Y'all, the amount of time it takes for me to set up everything, like, I've filmed this video 3 times, one of which I just decided I hated, and that was just like a regular, like, best books I've read so far in 2023, and I was like, nah, you know what, I am gonna do a mid-year freakout tag, because I kind of feel like in general I haven't had any like breakaway books, so I'll just do a mid-year freakout tag that'll be maybe more interesting, film it. Then I waited too long to edit it, and then I was like, no, I can't see myself from a week ago, I'll be scarred. So then I refilmed it, and then I realized that my camera was set to slow motion somehow. I don't know how I did that, and there was no audio, so I couldn't do anything, and I have to refilm it again. This is amazing. I love this. I'm having a great time. Thank you for asking. So take like 7 of my mid-year freakout tag. Let's go. I'm so done with this. It's all my own fault, but it's like, it feels external, you know? So, question number 1 in the mid-year freakout tag is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? I'm not gonna pull out my books again. I'm not. So you just have to trust me that these are books and that I've read them, and like, here is the book. So the best book I've read so far is A Wife for My Son by Ghalem. This follows a young girl, like 18 years old, and she is in an arranged marriage with this man, and the family of the man is hoping that by marrying her, he will be convinced to stay in Algeria as opposed to go back to France where he was a worker. And it, I think, explores a lot about tradition versus modernization. I think it also, what I love about this book is it's very a well-rounded approach to its characters. Even the people that you didn't like and didn't agree with, you still felt like you got to understand them and their motivations and who they were as people. They were not like one-note characters by any means. And I love the book's focus on female friendships and intergenerational female friendships. This book is not what you would expect, and the grace at which it handles discussions, I think, is really beautiful. I was not knowing what I expected when I picked up the book, and I certainly did not realize that I would be picking up, you know, a new favorite, and that's exactly what that book is for me. Next question, best sequel you've read so far? I don't read sequels, but I will say I am looking to read the My Heart is a Chainsaw like trilogy, so I'm assuming at some point I will read one of those, but in general I'm not necessarily someone who reads series like that. New releases you haven't read so far this year but want to. I do have that, where did I put it? Right here. Little Devil in America by Hanif Abdurraqib. When exactly did this come out? So super not a new release. This book came out in 2021, but it's a second printing. Do I know what that means? Not exactly. Anyway, this book is new to me. So yeah, that's probably like actually a bad example, but it's the example I have. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year, I actually do have this one. It's by Rustam Alexander, and that's Red Closet, and it talks about homophobia within the Soviet Union, and I have that on pre-order, and I'm really excited to read it. Biggest disappointment. So this is interesting because there's a book that I liked the least, and that was The Other Americans by Laila Lalami. Then there's the book that I would argue I still enjoyed, but had more of like a disappointment. Like I didn't have expectations for The Other Americans in the way that I had expectations for this book. So the biggest disappointment is technically Andrey Kurkov's The Gardener from Ochakov, but it's not an disappointment because the book was bad. Like I enjoyed it. It was like a really good, I think, weekend read, a great beach read or train read, but the back of the book almost made it seem like you were going to get some commentary on the way that the Soviet Union is remembered as opposed to the reality, and you think that maybe you're going to get to see this mother explain to her son like how how great it was, and then the reality would set in that, you know, she's remembering her youth or something along those lines. But you didn't really get that. And the story itself was, I enjoy the story, but it's just not exactly what I was expecting. So in that way, it's a disappointment. But it's not like the worst book I've read, like far from it, I would say. Biggest surprise. I'm trying to think. I think for this, when I filmed this previously, I had said, and I still agree with what I previously said, I think the biggest surprise for me is probably, oh my god, I can't remember the name of the book now. It's by Kenzaburo. It's Nip the Buds, Shoot the Kids. The reason why this is a big surprise, I feel personally, is because I really enjoyed the book. And I think it was, you know, I'd read A Personal Matter, and so I was not sure of how I felt about Oya as a writer, where it's like I had this one book that I liked, but I don't know if it's, you know, just that I got a really good book, or in general if I like his writing. And so I think that book really confirmed to me that I like his writing. And on one hand, it shouldn't be a surprise because I'd already previously enjoyed one of his books, but practically it ended up being somewhat surprising. Favorite new author debut or new to you? So actually, it's Hanif Abdurraqib. I read They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. Absolutely loved it. He just is such a talented writer, and that's why I picked up A Little Devil in America, is because he's like, I think, my favorite new author because his writing is phenomenal. I'm gonna put this back. Newest fictional crush. I think Julie Reads Herself touched on this, the idea that like maybe this is more YA geared because what? I guess I just don't get, like, I don't read books about likable characters that I can develop a crush on. I feel like I'm just thinking about the books that I've read recently, and I'm like, none of these books are particularly, like, the one I can kind of think the most is probably, it's T. Kingfisher. I read What Moves the Dead, and I'd kind of say The American Doctor in that. He seemed like really funny and gruff to me, so like maybe The American Doctor from What Moves the Dead is my crush. I don't even remember his name, but that is like, I'm picking from the bottom of the barrel because I read books about bad people. Oh my gosh, I don't think that's funny. Newest favorite character. Again, I feel like this is such an interesting, like, I don't think I get favorite characters. Funnily enough, I probably would have had a very strong answer for last year for what my favorite character is, but I think now my favorite character, I'd have to pick someone from Baba Yaga Laid an Egg, just because it was like a great cast of characters. So I'd probably say Pupa from Baba Yaga Laid an Egg, just to say something. Book that made me cry. This, I'm actually, the book I'm reading right now has made me cry. I'm not a big crier when it comes to reading, which is funny because I'm a crybaby with everything else, like I'm super emotional. But Time Shelter by Georgi Gospodinov made me cry. Also In Order to Live by Yomi Park made me cry. The Time Shelter, that one made me cry because there's just a lot of talk about the elderly and Alzheimer's, and you know, it's this sense of like losing a loved one, but they're still there, and it's almost cruel, like they're in front of you but you can't have a conversation with them. I think that's like personal for a lot of people. I think if you've had someone grow older in your life, you kind of feel that with them. But I don't know, I think to my own life and the people I've had around me, like the people I never really got to meet, who I see them through like the memories that they have given to others. And then there's the people that by the time I was conscious and able to like have a true relationship, like I'm not a child, you know, by the time I was able to have a relationship, they no longer were. And then now I'm in the place where people that I've like actually been able to establish a relationship with that are elderly, like I am seeing that loss, and it's very emotional because it's like on one hand that it is a privilege to get to have someone for so long that you lose them, but it is that double-edged sword of you're still losing them. You don't get to maintain them forever. Like their physical presence, like what does that mean to you when what you love about them is who they are? So yeah, that made me cry. Book that made you happy. This one, I just remember again, like what I said in these previous videos. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like I probably felt happy with multiple books, but the one that this made me think the most of was Ebola 76 by Amir Tag El-Sir, which is obviously about the Ebola 76 outbreak. So it's not a book that made me happy, I would say, but it's a book that made me laugh. And I think that's probably like the best we're gonna get, because again, I do tend to read slightly darker stories with like ambiguous or even dark endings. So that's the book. It didn't make me happy, but it did make me laugh. And I think that the power to turn like a very dark thing into humor is really powerful. So that's my answer. The most beautiful book that I've acquired this year, I actually have that right here with me. I'm gonna say that's this cookbook, and it's Tava, Eastern European Baking and Desserts from Armenia and Beyond by Irina Turgescu. And it's like beautiful and embroidered and like textured in 3D, and it's very pretty. And even like internally, you know, it's very beautiful and autumnal. I'm trying to find another like this, you know, very pretty, yeasted. So yes, probably this book. I do think cookbooks, side note, I think cookbooks are, in my opinion, one of the best gift books to get someone, because unless you know that person is a reader, like if you get me a book, I'll probably read your book that you got me. But for a lot of people, like we're just busy living our lives. I think cookbooks are such a great option because they have a practical use. I can use that. I can do something with that. I don't have to read it cover to cover, so I don't feel bad if like I don't have the time to read it. And also they tend to be very beautiful. So even if maybe this doesn't have a space in my life practically, it does have an artistic space in my life. So, I mean, I'm always down for books, but I think in general, like cookbooks are actually quite, I think they're good. Let me know what you think. Are cookbooks a good gift idea? Okay, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? I feel kind of cheeky answering that I'm an adult and I don't have to read anything, and how dare you insinuate that to me? That's cheeky. I think books that I have to read by the end of the year, well, my book club, we're reading Undocumented Americans by, oh, what's her name? Carla. Undocumented. Okay, by Carla Cornejo Villavicencio. So that is one book that I have to read. Other book that I have to read is Svetlana Alexievich, The Womanly Face of War. I'm that far in, and it's not so much that I have to read it, it's that I would like to finish this. I had started it last year. I got into a kick of reading it recently because it's really dark and it was very hard to get through in my first go at it. But now that I'm feeling this book, I definitely want to finish it now. The other book that I guess I like have to read, it's not a have to read, I have a goal for reading this book, The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera, who did pass away the other day. So I have like a deadline before the end of the year of reading this. And also I just want to finish one of my like bigger mammoth books. I have a goal of reading larger books this year, so hopefully that will also get done. But yes, other than that, I don't think I have to read anything. And that wraps up my mid-year freakout tag. Those are all of my answers to those questions. Hopefully you enjoy this. I hope you like this. And yeah, let me know your answers to these questions. I'm trying to think about one I'd be like most interested to hear from. I feel like, maybe I'm curious about what is your favorite new author who has been an introduction that you've made over pages, if that makes sense, like over these literary pages, an introduction to an author that has captivated you. I would love to hear that. Yeah, and with that being said, like I said, I'm currently reading The Unwomanly Face of War, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you so much, and goodbye.